Howdy, everybody. Oh. Alright, so we're doing this again. Earlier on, well, if I don't upload this in a different order, I would have talked about my opinions on how the No Way Home movie really capitalized on the theme of responsibility shown through uh, the Spider-Man films and how they really capitalized on it for Tom Holland's character. Uh, And now I want to do this for Andrew Garfield because I feel like this movie did fantastic things for the amazing Spider-Man franchise. And I'll explain why in a bit, but I will say personally for me, in terms of the character of Spider-Man himself, my favorite would be Andrew Garfield. I don't know. I know like a lot of people weren't the biggest fans of the character, but I really enjoyed his version of the character. It's the character I grew up with. So it's my personal first Spider-Man besides the animated version. So it's the first Spider-Man I saw and grew up with, So I really enjoy his character as Spider-Man. And I feel bad for all the shit he gets because he's not only is it a great actor, he's also a great Spider-Man. I feel like everyone who plays Spider-Man is good in some way, but I like Andrew Garfield the most personally. Now, that is my own opinion, so I'm not going to fault you if you don't agree. But I do want to talk about his arc in this film because it's a continuation of his arc in the original Spider-Man 2 movie, or Amazing Spider-Man 2 movie, and I really love it, right? Because when we meet him, he's kind of acting all goofy, but you also hear a bit of like monotone kind of sadness in his voice, and that compounds when he's talking about Gwen. And we know he's still grieving about Gwen in this movie. We are shown and told that countless times. And it's even more intense than we thought because we see in the end of the second movie he's kind of still a bit okay, but he refers to the point in this movie that he became a lot more violent after Gwen died, a lot more ruthless. So we can assume he's more like the Venom symbiote Peter in the Amazing Spider-Man universe now, not to a degree, but he's more violent with criminals. He wouldn't be as forgiving because he's obviously still grieving from Gwen and he's not going to let it go very easily, which is understandable. And he's trying to give Peter good advice, but it's hard for him because he also wants to get revenge for Gwen's death, right? Because he feels responsible. He feels that pain just as much in his mind as fresh, I'd say, as Tom Holland's pain is, his Spider-Man's version. Right, which I feel... Oh my god, a bit of chocolate on my face. Oh, Jesus, give me a sec. Which I feel is very, very important for this movie to realize both these Spider-Mans have very fresh wounds. Tobey Maguire, much as his films are, is very well established. He knows, he's been through everything, right? He's been in the job for at least 19 years since the movies now in universe. So it's a very important thing. You know what I mean? These two Spider-Men are both the youngest versions of Spider-Man we currently have, and also the ones with the freshest wounds for the people they care about, which I think is very important. Because throughout this movie, the Andrew Garfield version of Spider-Man is constantly putting himself down. Constantly. Even at the scaffolding when they're talking about their villains, right? He's always like, I'm not as good as you. I'm not great. I'm obviously paraphrasing because I don't have the movie to quote because I'm not going to be able to see it for a very long time now because of the Ireland lockdown. But he's like, I'm not as good as you. Like, oh, you guys fought like purple aliens and an alien symbiote and a goblin guy. I just fought a rhino in a big suit. And obviously he's underselling himself, of course, because he's underselling himself because he's not mentioning all the good he's done. And they tell him, you are great, you are amazing, you are just as good as us, right? They try to give him a confidence boost, but he still doesn't believe it. The wound of Gwen is still fresh in his mind, And it's tough to get over the death of a loved one. Talking from personal experience, like when my nana died, it took me. I'm still not over it personally. Like I'm able to talk about it now, but like when it first happened, I was quite young. I was like 7, so it didn't really hit me for a while. And then when I was a bit older, it hit me, the gravity of the situation. Obviously, this is different, But all I'm saying is, like, when a death hits you, like, it does take a lot to kind of move on and kind of understand the gravity of the situation, you know, in your mind, and be like, I can move on, I can appreciate life again. So we see that here, through meeting his other Spider-Man, he's starting to learn, you know, once again, relearn the steps of being a great Spider-Man, and relearning kind of why he loves life, or why he should enjoy life. And I think the nail in the coffin for his character in a good way was when he was able to save Mary Jane, the other Spider-Man's girlfriend. Because there was a bit of relief for him, because he felt, you know what? I got this. I'm able to save people again. Because it was in a nearly identical situation to what he was before. And you could even see when he was going for it, he was going like to do this. He was going to try and catch her, but he was like, I can't do that in case I break her neck again. So he dives down faster to try and catch her. Right? You even see that instead. But when he does catch her, you see the relief in his face. Obviously, you see that, and how, like, it's kind of like he's looking down at her like that, and you see the relief in his face, of course, but you also see the slight regret in his face, because he's happy he got to save another Peter Parker's partner, right? He is obviously happy about that, and he feels reassured in his ability to save people. But he's also sad because if he could do this for this person, why couldn't he do it for Gwen? And although that's never stated, you can see that in the character's expression, and I feel like that's a big heads up to Andrew Garfield. Like, it's both him and Tom Holland are very good with their expressions in this movie. Now, obviously, Tobey Maguire didn't have much to do, but they focused a lot on the Tobey Maguire franchise's villains more so than Tobey Maguire himself. So that's not a bad thing on Tobey Maguire at all. But what they did for Andrew Garfield, basically teaching him again how to get over, basically his acceptance of Gwen's death happens in this movie. To me personally, I must say this is an amazing movie for the Amazing Spider-Man films, because to me, you didn't get a conclusive ending in The Amazing Spider-Man, right? You know, we got that scene where he's saving a kid at the very end, but you didn't get a conclusive ending to either of the character arcs for Peter or the main villain Electro. And that's what this movie gives us, right? In a way, I'd recommend watching this movie right after you've watched Amazing Spider-Man. If you're just looking at that franchise exclusively, it's an amazing end to the Peter Parker's character for the Andrew Garfield films. Because not only does it close off his arc by giving him a lengthy way to accept his past and how he can move forward, at the same time of Tom Holland accepting how to move forward, it's also him helping Electrode, someone he struggled to help in his own movie and probably directly caused the descent of. So not only is he realizing he can help the people he cares about, but he also, through Tom Holland doing so and having that conversation with Electrode later on, he knows, I can do this. I can help people again. So it gives him that bit of reassurance. Now, personally, I will say, I would like at some point, I'm going into a bit of speculation here, just real quick. I would like at some point if Spider-Gwen shows up at some point. I would really like if we get like the reaction from Peter, like, oh, you know, if he ever sees a Spider-Gwen or something like that from another universe at some point. Now, as I said in the review thing I did, it could be possible that they just end up making it so this is a one-time thing. Oh my god. Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in a Spider-Man film. But I feel like the way they left it off is we can revisit those universes again, because they can come back at any point with, multiverse shenanigans. And we see that with the Doctor Strange sequel movie coming out. So there's a lot to be said. You know what I mean? I am very excited for the future, and I'm very happy that the Spider-Man that I grew up with gets a proper finale to his character. You know, and it thematically fits the film as well, because both films try to go for a dark tone. So the kind of character development they give. especially with such a big cast they have in this film, is fantastic. And as I said in the review before, props off to the MCU and Sony, or Kevin Feige and Sony. Apologies, I don't know I know someone else was working with Kevin Feige, but I can't remember your name for the life of me, and I apologize. But I'm just so happy, you know, because like I'm just so happy about this movie. This movie was everything I ever wanted as a kid. It reminds me so much of the 1994 cartoon that I grew up. Well, when I grew up with that cartoon, even though it wasn't out when I was being raised, because that was what my that was what my auntie had in her TV and my nan had when we were watching. Ireland gets like stuff real late. Like it would have been the like late 2000s, and you would have had like the 90s shows come on. So I grew up with the 90s TV show and stuff like that, and the video games with Spider-Man 2099 and the Ultimate Spider-Man and all that. So this movie really hit home with me, especially because I just really loved it, to be honest. And I know I went going on a spiel again, but I am just happy that Andrew Garfield is a massive fan of the Spider-Man franchise, and I feel like I'm so happy that not only is he going to realize that people love him as Spider-Man, I feel like him himself probably had a lot of problems coming into it, you know, thinking, am I efficient enough to be Spider-Man? Because the amount of shit they got from Amazing Spider-Man 2, I'm not going to say it's completely undeserved, because Electro wasn't great, but I will say Andrew Garfield's performance was not bad, and I will always stick by that. I really enjoyed his performance as Spider-Man. I will say, I'm happy he got to finish his character arc for Spider-Man, and I hope they do more with him in the future, especially because Sony and Disney have such a good relationship now, and I hope that continues, because Spider-Man is one of the, I would say after the MCU, it's one of the 3 pillars of hero movies, but before it would have been one of the 2 pillars. I think the 2 superheroes that never needed a cinematic universe to be like the pinnacle of superheroes was Batman and Spider-Man. And I feel like now it's being propelled with Iron Man there as well, I would say. Iron Man is there now with the MCU, being the kind of face of the MCU forever now. I know Phase 4 will have Captain Marvel as the face, or I would say more so Spider-Man, but I know Captain Marvel will probably be pushed further than Spider-Man, because we're going to get Miles at some point, so they'll probably want to push Captain Marvel, which, I mean, her appearing in her own movie was pretty cool as well, but that's against the point. God, I went on a tangent there, but I think it's good enough. Moving on. Thank you for watching, and if you like this, make sure you like and subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you all next time. Cheers.